Good day and welcome to episode 5 of the Cyber Resilience podcast series. How do we reshape the business through cyber innovation and keeping security in mind? Before we go there, let's recap where we are. This series was aimed at upping our knowledge of cyber res, security as a whole, as well as improving how we approach this evolving art and science. It's been a wonderful journey for me. We've covered 4 great episodes, measuring cyber resilience and tips on measurement best practices and how we keep our cybersecurity game strong, which was introduced by Ramses Galeo from Micro Focus, an energetic ball of fun. Then we had Today Everyone Needs to be Cyber Savvy, where we had Chris Budnick from FNB, and where we learned about the 3 best sources of information regarding the changes in the cyber world or threat landscape. We went to the inevitable, which was, now you've been hacked, what do we do from here? Where Altron's Andrew Whitaker joined us to tell us about 3 things he would expect a good organization to do in the wake of a cyber attack. Fourthly, we had cybersecurity in the software supply chain, where Michelangelo, the man, not the hotel, took us through looking at the software supply chain and where we needed to bake security into the deliverables to ensure our organizations were hyper secure. Today, we are joined by Edison Mazibuko. I was going to say the best looking guy of the podcast, but I'm going to leave that alone, Edison. Where he is a director of DRS, and he's going to be talking around how technology and innovation can change our world and our lives, and cyber innovation as a concept. Edison, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for giving us some time. Can you, before we dive into the topic, just tell us a little bit about your journey that brought you here today?
Thank you very much for having me and for such kind words. So yes, I'm Edison Mazibuko, and I come from an engineering background where I studied a Bachelor of Technology degree, and I've worked my way up. Security engineer, became a security architect, and now find myself as a technical director. So as a technical director, I'm responsible for obviously making sure that we have the right people on board in our organization, make sure we have the right capabilities to be able to protect our customers. So DRS, just to tell you a bit more what we do. So we're a value-added reseller and service provider. And so we basically cover multiple aspects of cybersecurity. We do advisory services, managed security services, and
Awesome. And do you live in Johannesburg, Edison?
I do.
What do you do after hours? What's your most fun go-to activity that you would get up to?
Fun. Is gym considered fun?
Yeah, absolutely.
So fun, gym, spending time with my son, and
awesome.
An occasional hike now and then that actually,
getting out into the outdoors. I've enjoyed that from a perspective of lockdown, just seeing how many people, once the restrictions were up, got out there and are just enjoying our green spaces. And for you who don't live in Johannesburg, we do have green spaces. And there's such beautiful places to find in Joburg if you just get out there. Edison, today you've come to talk to us about cyber innovation and reshaping businesses through cyber innovation. What is cyber innovation to you?
Cyber innovation. So I would say the ability to actually use our current tools to actually change with the current landscape. Because as we've seen in the last year or two now, what happened in the world is a lot has changed, paradigms have shifted, and the way business gets done has also shifted. So being able to be innovative in terms of the approach and the way you do things has become quite key. So whether it's obviously processes or technology, you need a combination of all those to actually be competitive in an innovative way.
You are exposed to a large amount of customers in your role. Do you see people being afraid of this change, or do you see them diving in boots and all to change their way of working?
To be honest, I think we're not accustomed to change the majority of the time. So there are very few organizations that were actually ready for, what came about. I mean, you hear stats about we've done so much progress in the last year, that is basically squeezing a whole bunch of years of progress in a short space of time. So that can be quite daunting for people who are not accustomed to change. So a lot of people actually, I think, struggled. Some of them embraced it, and others were actually kicked into, into the new way of working, kicking and screaming. So you can see, with remote working, for instance, where some organizations just of days they were ready, and some of them still had to scramble to make sure that their people have laptops, or and then they have VPN connectivity to be able to actually do that. So I think it's been a mixed bag. A mixed bag. The majority of people, I think, struggled, but I think they're slowly coming around to it now.
Okay. And when you talk around this fear that people have you seen good ways that people have minimized this fear? What have you seen that's working to take away the anxiety and just allow business to work?
So I think having a priority of what's important is actually quite key. Okay. Don't try to do everything. Really prioritize what are the key factors that will actually get your business going and moving forward. And then you can do those in small incremental steps will actually assist, and implement obviously necessary tools that will help people just communicating. For instance, the unified communication and collaboration tools have been with us for some time now. Yeah. But with the lockdowns that have happened, a lot of people have started getting accustomed to actually using the video conferencing facilities, the chat tools, the whiteboard, and Kanban, virtual Kanban, facilities that are available, and that's making people a lot more relaxed in terms of like, well, it's the same way we've done business, when we were physically in the office. Now it's just virtual.
Okay. Do you think most people understand how to use the tools? Are they au fait with them, or do you think there's room to improve on that?
I think there's definitely room to improve.
Okay.
There's definitely room to improve. I think it depends on the individuals, right? Some people, are more technologically inclined, and others not so much. So that has always been a challenge. I think we take it for granted, something simple as using, a video conferencing facility, but some people maybe struggle with that. And I think it's important to be able to, bring everyone with us on the journey, because that's where the world is.
Okay. So we're talking about cyber innovation and security around this. With COVID coming through, we've had to innovate our business models. What role does cyber innovation play in this, and where does that sit in the organization in your mind?
So I think it's been an important part, because we're moving obviously business models to be able to compete in a world that has changed, and you want to be able to do that securely, right? And there's always been this talk about you need to bake in security into whatever capabilities you have, and that's true. You don't want to be able to do it in the back end, because the adversaries are they're becoming more innovative and coming up with new techniques all the time. So I think it's become quite crucial to be able to bake this in to make it part of your base requirements.
Okay. So we need to bake security in right up front.
100%. I think you need to bake it in. It has to be part of the culture. I think that's why you see things such as user awareness training that become quite key, right? Because we always say in security that the end user is the weakest link in the chain in the sense that our technology has become so good that, attackers know that the weakest link is a user. You send them a phishing email, promising them that they'll win a free bucky or whatever it is, and they'll click on it. They'll open it up with curious people, and that's how they get a foot in the door in most organizations.
Yeah, yeah. If cybersecurity, and we know it's a massive issue around the world, $11.4 million a minute was something I read the other day. How do we enable safe digitization in such an environment without inhibiting the business process?
Yeah, I think that's always the challenge, right? That's always the challenge because security practitioners have always been said to be the ones that are blockers. We always slow things down. Business wants to move fast with a new capability, with a new function, with a new application. But security people are always seen as blockers. And I think that's the mindset that needs to change. We need to be the enablers of business. And I think we're very well situated to do that because we are at the cutting edge of what we do in our industries. And utilizing concepts such as automation, that's quite key. Businesses can actually benefit a lot from automation and streamlining a lot of the non-security components of it. So I think that
so I love that point. So actually business could learn from security teams, because I made a note here, security is often cutting edge. So maybe the business should do a tour of what the security teams are doing and see how we can then backfit that into the business to enable the customer interaction. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we can all learn from each other. So remember, one of the biggest challenges we have in security is a skills shortage, right?
Okay.
And a lot of teams have had to do a lot with very little. And that's definitely an attitude that, it's a can-do attitude. It's like, you know what, we don't have all the tools, we don't have all the people. So we got to automate as much as we can. We've got to streamline where we can. And I think that's something that the rest of the business can actually take on.
I like that. I really like that. So if we were older in the 80s and we were watching MacGyver, we would be making a plan from a security perspective.
100%.
Yeah. With the innovation in mind, what are some of the disruptive technologies that you've seen or you're looking forward to that's going to really shake the blanket from a security perspective and innovation perspective in your mind?
So I think obviously when you talk about technology in general, I mean, we've seen things like, biotechnology, that's quite big. Drones are a big one. We've seen a lot that's happened with drones, across the world, even on our continent, from drones who deliver medicines in remote areas, to drones that, do some security work, whether it's, protecting endangered animals and so forth. And moving it closer to security, I think we've seen a lot more consolidation in terms of the tools that are available. Okay. A lot of people, like I said, they're trying to do a lot with little. So consolidating vendors, they're consolidating capabilities, and that's a trend that we're going to see going forward. I mean, you see a lot of new terms such as XDR, for instance, that, it's a platform that's supposed to replace some of our more traditional security tools where you have a single place where you can do almost anything and everything security related.
Awesome. And do you think that that we are able to keep up with this, or have we got fast movers that are moving ahead and taking the market share?
Yeah, I think there'll always be people who are, leading the game and on the leading edge. But I think a lot of us are catching up. But I think organizations do need a bit of assistance. That's why you get service providers that, such as managed service providers, that their job is always to remain on the cutting edge of this, where an organization, you need to be focusing on your core business. You know, you don't want to try and do everything, you know, yourself. So you need to leverage, and partnerships are very important. Organizations such as Micro Focus are doing that very well, right? Where they got a big automation drive, and they actually take organizations through the whole journey to make sure that you're actually covered in that aspect.
Brilliant. Edison, if you deal with a number of South African companies and leading companies being a value-added distributor, are we falling behind, or are we on par, or are we ahead of the game from a perspective of cyber innovation with security?
I think I've seen instances where we're well ahead of the game. There's some of our entities here that are actually, you know, proper world class and actually can give some of the best organizations out there a run for their money. And also some of those that are lagging behind. So I think the key thing is when you think innovation, that I also tell people is innovation is not always having the shiniest tool, right? Innovation is just a different way or a new way of doing things. It's more about what you do more than about what you have. So that could be an innovative process that you put in place, innovative way you provide a service. So, and that we're seeing quite a number of it.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. How would you suggest that the SADC region and the African continent take advantage of the technology that's there, that we are not left behind when it comes to this digitization of the world? Is that a good woof, or is that a bad woof?
So I think we have many challenges, in the continent, but also we also have something that, you know, other areas don't have. We've got a very young workforce. The youth is a majority in our continent, and I think we need to use those to our advantage. They're the people that are always eager to, you know, touch the new technology, try out new things, and we are well placed to actually leapfrog some of our, competitors or neighbors. And I think we need to utilize that. Things like e-governance, we need to be able to get into that space and digitize as much as we can and streamline that. I think decisions have to be made where we actually actively decide that, you know what, we're going to go into the future and we want to compete into that space and not try to hold on to the past a lot, because that could also be what also holds us back.
Okay, awesome. I think that's a great view of where we are. If you had to make 3 changes to how your network is taking on, or how your customer is taking on cyber innovation with security at mind, what 3 changes would you suggest that people embrace going forward?
3 changes. So I think leverage partners. Don't try to do everything yourself.
Okay.
Simplify as much as you can. I think things that are, if you can simplify complex, concepts, that will ensure that no one gets left behind in organization, and everyone, can come on board for the ride.
Okay.
And the last change, what would I use? Experiment. Don't be afraid to experiment with new ways of doing things. Don't be afraid to experiment with new tools, because that's your first way into innovation. You've got to experiment. A lot of us don't have the answers, and if you're not afraid to experiment, and your decisions are not driven by fear, you're already ahead of the pack.
Okay. That's also a great point. I like that. Failing forward, making innovation part of your culture, and ensuring that you are trying new things. I think that's a very powerful message. If we are talking around leveraging partners, do you see South African companies that doing that really well or really weak at the moment?
I'd say they're doing that well. I think they're doing that well. I think there's a nice ecosystem of, partners in various industries. And yeah, we're doing that well. We could always do it better, but I think so far we're doing a good job.
Are you seeing people in your network embrace new methodologies for project development and deployment, which is leaning towards simplification of concepts? Are you seeing a lot of people using Agile?
Absolutely, absolutely. We are seeing people obviously embrace the Agile concepts, and it's beyond just the projects and development environment.
Okay.
People are starting to see, can we get rid of processes and red tapes that are actually, making us slow to market and, actually hindering us from actually moving as fast as we can. So Agile is becoming a way of life that we're seeing get embraced a lot.
Excellent, excellent. And that talks to the experimentation and the sprints and making sure we're delivering things fast, getting concept from paper to production in a shorter space of time. Is there any particular technological release that you are most excited about coming in the next 6 months?
iPhone 13?
Come on, I'm talking about from a security perspective or in your space of what you're doing.
I guess because quantum computing is so far away, we'll have to I'm keeping an eye on what's happening in the XDR space, where there's a lot of simplification that we're seeing, where you're trying to get a single platform that will give you a view on what's happening in your network, in your endpoints, on your cloud infrastructure. So I think that has a good opportunity to actually be the one. I don't want to say one platform that rules them all, but it'll help with a lot of simplifications in terms of security.
So that single pane of glass, it's still the holy grail of security, eh?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, when you have that single pane of glass, you want to make sure that everything is covered. And if you can't look after it yourself, that's where the partners come in now, where, you have to reach out into your, reputable, managed service provider, and then they can take that on and you can focus on your business.
Excellent. And what is your particular focus for the next quarter leading up to the end of this year? What are you working on hard?
I would say building new capabilities and getting the right people on board. I think we've been lucky where, in the industry, organizations been doing very well, and it's changing so much, and we're building new capabilities. For instance, like we've just built, we just got a new SOC building. We're going to be moving our current guys into that. So it's good growth, and we always have to be building new capabilities. And I think that's going to be a key driver for me this coming quarter.
So if you were speaking to a 24-year-old who's just got out of varsity, why would you say that they should get into security now?
One way I'd actually put it says, IT is a dynamic space, but cybersecurity, one way to look at it is cybersecurity is a restless, fast-moving target with a caffeine overdose in its system. So if they always want to be on the cutting edge of things, you want to get into cybersecurity. And cybersecurity is going to play a very important role in actually protecting our future. And we need more people who are skilled. We need more people who are hungry. And if that's what they want, that's the challenge that they'd like to take on, I say come to cybersecurity.
Awesome. I like that. I think that there are so many opportunities within IT and within cybersecurity that it would be a really interesting discussion to have with those young people about where they're going to go. Because you've spoken about skills shortage and about new capabilities throughout this talk. So any young people or parents with young people, get them into security, get them into security. Innovation as a concept seems to be pretty linear, but as a culture, it seems to be multifaceted. What advice do you have for any colleagues to up their innovation quota? And can you, is it just built into some people to innovate?
So I think one advice I'd probably give to maybe people in a similar, position as I am is they have to try to be a bit more empathetic,
Okay.
And being empathetic essentially, says you just got to be a bit more alert to what's happening. A lot has changed in our environment. People are going through a lot. And I think being more connected actually unlocks a lot of things, such as innovation, for instance.
Okay.
I mean, once people can actually feel that you do care for their well-being, and you're not just always pushing the bottom line, they'll be willing to actually, help you push the goals of the organization.
Okay.
And innovation will actually be one of those things that you get to unlock.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you very much. We are going into Cybersecurity Awareness Month. It's a very big concept for people, but often underplayed. There's lots of business priorities that are getting thrown on top. What message have you got for C-levels with regards to cybersecurity in this month of heightening awareness for them?
I think simplify it as much as you can, all the way from the board level down to every staff member. Let's try to take these concepts that are sometimes complex and difficult for people to understand and actually simplify it in ways that they can actually see it. And the cool thing is a lot of the skills that people can learn are transferable to their personal life, right? I mean, security is not just a problem that happens in an enterprise. Privacy and data security are skills that people can use, whether they are using social media or their kids are online schooling. These are skills that have become quite, elemental to have at the moment.
I got my soundbite for the podcast right at the end there. Security doesn't only happen at work. Yeah. I really like that, Edison. I think that's solid wisdom there. I'd like to thank you for your time here with us, Edison. I know that you've got quite a busy portfolio, and especially in this month of cybersecurity. I know Micro Focus is a good partner of yours, and I wish you all the success for the end of the year. And I hope that you strengthen the partnership with them and we get to see much more of you in platforms like this. Good luck for the lead up for the end of the year. And from my side, Daniel Robus, I'd like to thank you for allowing me to host this podcast. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon.